Hello everyone and welcome back to Lucky Loaders 15, where I'll be giving you 5 of my best tips for tomorrow's racing. Now before we get stuck into that, I quickly just want to apologise for not making a video on today's racing. I did say on my Twitter feed, where you can follow me over there at Lucky Loader 15, that is my Twitter handle, and also as well I did pin a comment at the top on my most recent video just explaining that there was no video on my YouTube channel today. That was partly due to the fact that I didn't fancy anything. In the end, we had a lot of jumpers and bumpers meetings today at Lingfield and Newcastle. Really hard to get a grip on the form. A lot of the hot pots were turned over by some big outsiders, and those outsiders really, I found it difficult to really be confident behind any of them if you just look at the bare form on what they've achieved so far in their career. So yeah, it was always going to be a bit of a messy day, and that's why I didn't fancy anything. So yeah, like I said, I did make you guys aware. I hope some of you saw it, but if you didn't, apologies for that. Also as well, I just want to say that I've also as well recorded a brand new episode of the In the Saddle podcast, where I was joined by the usual suspects, Mark Karosky and former jump jockey Paul Callahan. We're giving our selections for some of the big races this weekend at Chepstow, Kempton, and also as well a look to Sunday's action at Naas. And if you want to listen to that latest episode, there's a link to it in the description box below. We've got all of the major podcast platforms covered, including the likes of Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, whichever one floats your boat. Just make sure you hit one of the links in the description box below. So enough of all the promotions there. Let's get into the tips for tomorrow. Like I said, I've got 5 of my selections. I should just point out that there are going to be precautionary inspections at all of these venues tomorrow, but I'm pretty confident that we'll get the green light for all of them. They're going to be hosting inspections at Chepstow, Wincanton and Kempton, so just make sure you keep an eye out. But yeah, I'm fairly confident from what they're all saying in the quotes to the media anyway, that they're going to be going ahead, so fingers crossed we do. So yeah, let's get into it then. So we're going to be going to Kempton tomorrow for the reorganised Grade 2 Raquel hurdle. This has been saved from Cheltenham's New Year's Day meeting, and we're going to be going my long shot here in the 220 at Kempton. And my long shot of the day is going to be on the blind side for Nico de Boinville and Nicky Henderson. At the current time of recording, you can currently back this horse at 18-1, and I'm going to recommend a 0.5 win only bet on our brand new point system here. Now, this horse on the blind side, he is going to have to step up a little bit from what he's been doing of late. He's been running in handicaps, but to be fair to him, he's put in some really decent performances, I think. He won a handicap 2 starts ago, carrying a big weight, and the form of that race didn't work out too badly. And then he just bumped into a very unexposed type last time out at Cheltenham, when he himself was carrying a big weight. He had to give 2 stone away to come on Teddy in that race, you know, but I still think he ran very creditably. I don't think the drop back and trip is going to be a negative at all. I think over 2.5 miles, I think that can suit him. He's won over this trip before. He's actually a Grade 2 winning hurdler over this trip. If you go back through some of his form, he's a horse that likes to be handy as well, and that style of racing can suit round Kempton. But if you just looked at the race as a whole, I thought he was a fairly big price, and on official ratings he wouldn't have to improve much to be in the mix here, and I think he should be at least half the price he currently is. I'm quite sweet on his chances tomorrow. Fabulous obviously leads to betting because he does bring some of the best form here to the table, and he did win the reorganised EBF final here back in March when he absolutely posed up that day. But I just wonder if he had a little bit of a hard race last time at Newbury. And also as well, you have to say that this, even though yes he won the Persian War, that was a weak affair, but these horses in here, they're no mugs, you know. So I do think he is a little bit short in the betting. I know Somerville Boy will be popular, and also as well You Never Cool, who did beat our selection at Sandown over hurdles a couple of years ago. However, our selection on the blind side had a little bit of a hard campaign by then. He'd actually ran over fences in the RSA where things just didn't go right for him that day, and I think you can excuse his run at Sandown, so I would forgive him that day. But yeah, there's a few horses in here that having to give away certain allowances or certain penalties for earlier wins. But if you look at the race as a whole, it's a really condensed field on the ratings, and I just think on the blind side. He's been in much better form of late, and I think he shouldn't be underestimated. Also, as well, some of you might be saying, Nicky Henderson, his horses haven't been running particularly well. However, before today, his stable were operating at a 20% strike rate, and I know some of his horses did flop over the Christmas period, but they were still in pretty decent form for December. They operated at a 20% strike rate, and if you backed all his selections or all his runners blind to a £1 stake, you would have been slightly up for the month. So yeah, nothing to really worry about. I think with the Henderson yard, I think sometimes when a couple of his big guns don't perform, they go, oh, they just throw something out there in the media. I would kind of take it with a pinch of salt, and that's what I've been thinking about more this season, to take from Nicky Henderson's yards. Whereas before, I thought he is always a very approachable chap, but at the same time, I would take what he says sometimes from his yard with a pinch of salt. And they've been not in bad form today at Lingfield. They had a winner and a couple of placed efforts from some horses that were fancied in the market. So yeah, I wouldn't read too much into that. And like I said, I just think 18-1. I think he's still unexposed over hurdles. He's only had 7 starts and he's won 4 of his 7 attempts over hurdles. I just think there's a lot to like about his chances tomorrow. And if you wanted a long shot on a horse, I think you could do a lot worse than him. We're then actually going to be staying with the outsiders in the next race at Kempton. We go to the 2:55 for the Silviano Conte Grade 2 Chase, and I'm going to take a chance here on Clondaw Castle. Now again, I'm going to recommend a 0.5 win only bet, and Clondaw Castle is trained by Tom George, and James Byrne is booked for the ride tomorrow. Now this race only has 4 runners, and I know a lot of people will probably fancy Imperial Aura, but I don't think Imperial Aura, despite he has improved obviously from last season, I don't think he's been tearing up loads of trees. If you actually look at some of the form of his races, the Colin Parker, which he won at Carlisle, on paper it looked a good race, but the form hasn't quite stacked up. And also as well, his run and victory at Ascot in the Christie's Chase been let down quite badly by the likes of Itchy Feet, who was disappointing on his next start at Ascot, and also as well Real Steel didn't quite live up to expectations, and he didn't completely thrash those horses. You know, they weren't quite out the back of the telly, they weren't too far away, so I would be concerned. And also as well, the nature of the track might not completely suit Imperial Aura. And now our selection, Clondaw Castle, there's only £8 between them on the ratings, and we get £6 from Imperial Aura. So on ratings, he only has £2 to find. And I think he's been running some decent races this season. If you go through some of his form, he ran a good race behind Nutswell at Aintree in the Grade 2 Old Run. That's a race that's worked out quite well, produced a few winners, and he beat Itchy Feet that day. Also as well, he won a decent handicap off a big weight at Newbury, which is always quite a good handicap every year. And also as well, he ran a really credible race to finish 3rd at Cheltenham in the reorganised Peterborough Chase, when ideally Cheltenham isn't probably his best track, and he was badly inconvenienced at a crucial point. So I think you can mark up that run. And like I said, he's been running really well, and he can go this way around, no problem at all. He's won at Huntington before, which is a similar track to Kempton, so you think the track shouldn't be an issue. And he's quite versatile tactically. So yeah, a lot to like about Clondaw Castle tomorrow, and I don't think he should be 8-1. If you look at the others, Master Tommy Tucker's going to have to bounce back after probably what was a tough race for him in that in the Caspian Caviar Gold Cup, and also as well Riders of the Storm was well beaten. So I think Clondaw Castle is a really big price in the context of this race. But I know Imperial Aura does have his fans out there, but I don't think this is going to be completely easy for Imperial Aura. And at 8-1, stranger things have happened, and I'll be recommended an extra tip there and to have a saver on him for the win, because I think he is a big price, and I think he could easily be at least half his price. I think on paper he deserves to be at least 3-1 for this race. So yeah, I don't know what you guys think, but yeah, I'm going to be going with Clondaw Castle. We then go to the nap of the day in the 3:05 at Wincanton with a horse called Baignard. Now this horse at the current time of recording was available at 6-1 with Skybet, who are offering 4 places on this race, and I'm going to recommend a 1 point each way selection here as my nap. Now there will be slightly bigger odds out there with a few firms, but you'll get less places on offer. But like I said in the Saddle podcast earlier, I'll be disappointed if this horse doesn't go really close tomorrow. Now Baignard is going to be making his handicap debut for Nick Mitchell, and Tom Cannon is booked for the ride here. Now Baignard has been running some okay races of late, and arguably it was his best run last time out when he finished third at Wincanton behind Phil Hobbs horse that won that day, and a horse called John Betjeman who went off at probably a quicker than ideal pace, and he just got tired in the closing stages. But that was Baignard's best run, and he's been given a mark by the handicapper now to a rating of 101, which I think is very workable. And he's a horse who likes to be handy, not to make the running, but just sit in there behind the pace. And that style of running can often suit Wincanton. And I thought on paper this was a really weak race. A lot of horses don't come to the table with any great form. I thought they completely had the wrong favourite. You can't be backing any of Colin Tizard's runners with any confidence at the moment. They haven't had a winner for a while, and it's been well documented that their horses have been absolutely shocking this season. So yeah, I think this is a very weak race, and I just think the way this horse is ridden will be ideally suited by him tomorrow. Nick Mitchell as well, since he's returned to the training ranks, has been going not badly. He's had a couple of nice horses been running, including Lieutenant Rocco, who's going to be running in the reorganised Dipper tomorrow. So lots to like, I think, about Baignard, and I think at 6-1, I think he could be vying for favouritism come post time. I think he's got a very good chance, and that's why he is going to be my nap of the day. We then go to my next best of the day, which runs in the Welsh Grand National in the 310 at Chepstow. Now, some of you might know what I'm going for here with my next best, and that is Springfield Fox for Sean Byrne and Tom George. At the current time of recording, you can get this horse at 8-1. I'm going to recommend a 1 point each way selection here, and there's currently 6 places with that price at 8-1 available with Betfair and Paddy Power. Now, I've been beating the drum for this horse to run in the Welsh Grand National for quite some time. He's been a horse that I've been really taken with ever since Tom George sent him over fences. He's got an interesting profile. He started life as a point-to-pointer. He ran over hurdles a couple of times last season, but when he went over fences, he was an absolute revelation. He absolutely bolted up on his debut over fences, which actually came over 3 miles on testing ground at Chepstow. So we know he can handle the conditions and he'll like the track, no problem. So that's a massive tick. He then went on to enhance his credentials by absolutely bolting up again by 17 lengths at Exeter. He ran in the National Hunt Chase, where we really didn't get to the bottom of him. He unseated Noel George halfway round when he was still running okay, so we don't really know how he would have fared at the business end of things, so you can forgive him that run. He's had a recent spin over hurdles. He finished second over hurdles, which was just a prep run for this, just to strip him fitter. He's been prominent in the betting for a while, but he's been a horse that I've liked for this race for a long while, I should say. He's a horse that will be handy, he'll be prominent. That style of racing often suits the Welsh National as well. Horses that are handy, because it can sometimes be tricky for horses to come off the pace. There's just so many boxes he ticks for this race tomorrow, and I think at 8-1, if he's out the first 6, if he's still standing, I think he's got every chance of going close. And I'm hoping Sean Byrne will get to the front on him and grind him out, and I'm hoping he'll be game enough, because I definitely think there is room for improvement to come off his mark of 142. So that's why Springfield Fox is going to be my next best of the day. We then go with an extra tip to round things off in the Lanzarote, the 3:30. I always loved this race. I was really unlucky last year. I was actually there for that meeting last year when the Bestie Man was my selection. I was on him at 16-1. He went to the front. I thought we were going to end up with a nice winner, but unfortunately he unseated Miguel Nolan at the last, so that was frustrating. But the Bestie Man did do us a favour when we put him up at Cheltenham a couple of months ago, and he finished second each way at a big price. So yeah, he has given us some redemption. But Burrow's Edge of Nicky Henson's went on to win that race, so I'm feeling Nicky owes me one. And I'm going to be going with another Nicky Henderson horse here, and that is Glynn, who at the current time of recording is available with Skybet, who are offering a mighty 7 places on this race at 6-1. Again, like I said, with Springfield Fox and a couple of other firms, you might be able to get bigger prices but less places. But I thought I'll be a coward and go for more places tomorrow. but I still think Glynn ticks a lot of boxes for this race. Now, this horse, Glynn, he's very, very lightly raced, but he's already done quite well, I think, so far in his career for Nicky Henderson. Absolutely bolted up on debut at Doncaster, and then we didn't see him again until recently when he had a spin over hurdles in a decent handicap, won by Paul Nicholls, is Echo. But Echo had been running in some decent races. He finished second to Glynn's stablemate Buzz in a decent handicap at Ascot, and that form of that race worked out quite well, provided a few subsequent winners, and Buzz went on to run a good race himself on his next start behind Not So Sleepy, so that was a good form boost. And then Echo as well ran another good race behind another stablemate of Nicky Henderson's called Monte Cristo. So yeah, a lot to like about that form. And also as well, I think he'll come forward for that run. He just looked very raw that day. He looked like he needed it despite him being a warm favourite. But Nicky Henderson said, but I know I said earlier, you should take what he said with a pinch of salt, that he would strip fitter. And also as well, the quotes from the odds suggest that he'll probably prefer going up and trip. And if you actually look at his pedigree, that thought of schooling does work up, because he's got plenty of stamina in his pedigree, so going up and trip should be fine. And off a mark of 134, that looks more than capable to me. I think there's lots to like about him tomorrow. Nicky Henderson's got a very good record in this race, and I just think he'll strip a lot fitter for that run at Doncaster, where the form looks good on paper, and I think he'll go very close in this race. So for me, Glynn, going to be an extra tip of the day, and I'm going to recommend a 1 point each way selection on that tip as well as my extra tip, or one of my other extra tips of the day. So let's quickly run through the 5 tips for tomorrow. Quick summary then. In the 220 at Kempton, on the blind side is my long shot of the day, an 18 to 1 0.5 win only bet. In the 255 at Kempton, we go over an extra tip, Clondaw Castle, 8 to 1 0.5 win only bet. In the 305 at Wincanton, Baignard is the nap of the day at 6 to 1, 4 places each way Skybet. And I'm going to recommend a 1 point each way selection there on the point system. We then go to the Welsh National, the 310, and that is Springfield Fox, who as my next best is a 1 point each way bet with Betfair, 8 to 1, 6 places. And then in the 330, the Lanzarote hurdle, we go with Glynn, 6 to 1, 1 point each way with 7 places Skybet. So yeah, they're the 5 tips for tomorrow's racing. There'll be the full tips in the description box below if you didn't understand any of that. So yeah, make sure you check that out. Also as well, if you're enjoying these videos, please remember to give us a thumbs up, and also as well, subscribe here to my YouTube channel at LuckyLoaders15. If you want to follow me on Twitter, that's the best place to do so on social media, where my handle is at LuckyLoader15. And if you want to find out a little bit more about myself, my website address is www.chrisloaderracing.co.uk. So please gamble responsibly. Hopefully we can have some winners tomorrow, and we'll be seeing you soon.